Hello and welcome to another video of our Zero to Hero Yoga Challenge. We are doing today a Vinyasa style class working on, what aren't we working on? Glutes core, probably mainly, but kind of just everything. It's going to be amazing. So for things you'll need, I don't think you really need much of anything. Maybe a block, maybe a blanket, but whatever you like. Let's get started in Balasana Child's Pose, or whatever other centering posture works best for you. So if Balasana is not accessible or available, just a cross-legged seated position, or even lying down. Taking those first few moments to get all settled in. You know, I often feel a little bit, maybe not hyper, but a little excited before class every time. Whether it's because I'm just excited to do yoga, which I always am, but I should get more hobbies probably. But sometimes it's like nerves, kind of like I don't feel like practicing today sometimes, and sometimes it's just maybe I haven't had the greatest day before my practice. Sometimes I'm feeling a little anxious. And if that's the case for you, taking an extra few moments to really feel heavy, I find that's a simple little trick that really helps. Allow yourself to be in the present moment. So things like feel the ground beneath you, even with your eyes closed. Just take note of where your body makes contact with the ground. Feeling the temperature of the air on your skin. Using your five senses to establish where you are in this moment. Not pining for the future or longing for the past, but really bringing it all right here. And it's amazing how just doing that can make you really feel grounded and centered, no matter what your emotional state is before a class. Taking a moment to set an intention for your practice. With so many benefits to yoga, just picking one of them. To even further deepen that intention, take an additional moment to visualize yourself having achieved that intention. So for instance, if that was, I'm looking for better sleep at night, that's why I do yoga. If that was my reason for being here today, then I would visualize myself going to sleep easily, remaining asleep for most of the night, and waking up feeling refreshed. So whatever your intention is for yoga, whatever goal you're hoping to achieve with yoga, taking those moments to visualize as though it had already happened. And now take 3 slow, deep breaths through the nose. Take as much time as you need to complete all 3 deep breaths. And once all 3 deep breaths are complete, heading up and back into that first downward facing dog. Again, take all the time you need. Pressing up and back. Maybe walking it out, that first one. Or maybe shifting the hips from side to side. And then send the feet forward all the way to the top of your mat, landing in a forward fold and hanging out there for a few moments. And slowly ragdoll all the way up to standing. And we'll get moving. Let you in on a little secret. I'm really cold right now, really, really cold. It's been so hot here in the Okanagan for the last little bit, but today actually isn't that hot. So I got the house all cooled down. And now I'm cold. But that's not a problem because we're about to do a wonderful Vinyasa style class where we'll get warmed up real quick here. So starting up at the top of your mat, heels and toes together, really reaching those fingertips to the floor. But if you are a little bit cold like I am, thinking about practicing at 70%. It's a little trick that I learned to not overdo anything, especially if I'm not warm enough yet. So 70%, reaching fingertips to the floor, but not like really reaching, so I'm, 70%. Okay, here we go. Inhale, raise the arms way up high. On the exhale, gliding forward, nice and smooth, all the way down. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back to plank. And lowering chaturanga. Inhale, up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Few deep breaths here. And send the feet forward all the way to the top. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. And again, inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back to plank. And lower chaturanga. Inhale, up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Warming up a little bit, shoulders away from the ears, pouring weight into the roots of the index fingers. And then I'll allow the heels to melt downward. Send the feet forward all the way to the top. Inhaling for flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. Just one more to get a little bit warmer. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, heading back to plank. And lower chaturanga. Inhale, up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Slowing down the breathing. Shoulders away from the ears. And send the feet forward. Inhaling for a flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain. Here we go. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale down, back through plank. And lower, chaturanga. Inhale up. And exhale, downward facing dog. From here, let's take a three-legged down dog. Right leg sweeps to the sky. While we're in our three-legged down dog, the left heel is lowering down towards the floor, so we feel a nice stretch in the back of the left leg and strength in the top leg. From here, we'll step the right foot forward behind the right wrist. Back heel stays up, high to the sky, coming up for Ashta Chandrasana crescent pose. From here, we'll head into some lunges. And what that is, well, we've done this before, working on glutes. I'll flip our timer. I like a nice wide stance for this dynamic glute exercise. We inhale to straighten. Hands can just go anywhere. Jazz hands if you like. Exhale, bend. Okay, prayer works good too. We inhale to straighten. We exhale to bend. Each time we bend, that knee arrives right over top of the ankle. Keep going. As always, we might notice the quad starts working. Don't let it. I mean, it has to a little bit. But we're trying to engage the glutes, so the back side to work. If you lift up the toes when you do this exercise, it helps to engage the glute. And if you still don't feel it, actually press down into that front heel. So of course the pose isn't actually like this, but just doing that to get the glutes working. Because oftentimes you can't just think, go gadget glutes, and then they work. Like that would be amazing, but that doesn't always work out the way we want to. So keep going. As you get a little bit more warmed up, you might find you get to lunge a little bit deeper, at which point you may need to lengthen your stance a little bit so that the knee doesn't go beyond the ankle. And I can start to feel my back ankle on fire, which is just added bonus. I love that yoga strengthens our ankles. You know what I mean? Like yoga is so different from regular fitness. We actually care about the entire body. So it's a very holistic approach to health and wellness. A lot of the yoga poses, like, yes, yoga is probably the best form of exercise to get a long, lean appearance. So aesthetically, yes, it does make a person look more athletic. But that's not what it's designed to do. And that's why I think it's so fascinating, because a lot of the poses are like this one specifically for your spleen, or this one specifically for your kidneys. And no other exercise is like that. It's designed for the musculoskeletal system only. So this is probably one of the best reasons why I like yoga. Let's head down through lunge and either just step it right back to child's pose or downward facing dog, or for extra challenge, back to plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog for our little vinyasa in between. We'll all meet together in downward facing dog, preparing for the second side, which starts with a three-legged down dog. So the left leg extends to the sky,
And I really like to take a moment in our three-legged down dog to feel the stretch on the back side of the leg, the supporting leg. Feeling the glute of that top leg as it reaches for the sky. Then we step that left foot forward. Back heel stays up. And right from here, you can widen your stance. I like a nice wide stance for balance. Back heel stays up. We come on up. Hands in a prayer. And I'll flip our timer over. Here we go. We inhale to straighten. We exhale to bend. Now, no matter how advanced you are, you may need to remind yourself, get that glute fired up, get it working, get it working. I know for myself, I've certainly clocked a lot of these lunges, that is for sure. But even still, I still take a moment. Okay, go, glutes, working. And I often have to press my heel into the floor. So taking the first few lunges to do that now. Bonus, we get to stretch that hip flexor on the opposite side. It's a multitasker. That's really why I like this one. The back ankle, the front glute, the back hip flexor. So much happening in just one exercise. This specific exercise is really good to help, that teeter-totter exercise I get us to do. We won't do that one today, but this exercise will help that exercise. So they're all connected. Keep going. Almost done. And heading down through lunge, stepping it back to plank, and lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhaling, downward facing dog. From here, the next one, just take a moment. So lowering through hands and knees, I just want to show you what we're doing because this one is very healthy to do. And it's a low risk exercise if you do it correctly. It can hurt the low back if you don't, okay? So pay attention for just this next little bit. The movement is basically from point A to point B and back again. So we start in a downward dog. We transition forward, and then with the toes still tucked under, we lower into a variation of upward facing dog. So the toes are still tucked under, and we're opening across the shoulders, and the legs are strong, the glutes are working, and I'm lifting up through the heart. And then we go back again to downward facing dog. I'll show you that just one more time. Belly scoops in. Even though we're heading into a back bend, we keep the pelvic floor pulling up, belly scooping in. And this is good for the low back because we're stretching it, but we're strengthening it as well, okay? So I'm gonna come out. This is the exercise. If you try this and you're like, I don't have the strength to do that, then you can just skip this one, okay? So there's a few of them online that it's hard to do without a yoga teacher right with you. If this is one that doesn't work out for you, just skip it. We're only doing this for 2 minutes, okay? I'm gonna start our timer now. We start in downward facing dog. And here we go. Heading forward, 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 all the way to, you could also choose to stop in plank. Upward facing dog. And heading back to downward facing dog. Keep going so it's nice and smooth and relatively slow. Keep going. So if you're finding this is not working, then you can always just go down dog to plank, down dog to plank. If you're like, well, I feel my low back and it feels a bit achy, that is okay. So remember, we've talked about before, or if you're new, then maybe we haven't talked about this, but a dull ache in like the heart of a muscle or the belly of a muscle, or even it might feel like it's the joint, that is completely safe. Sharp pain in a joint is never, ever, ever safe or okay. Something's going on there and it's beyond my scope of practice. Okay, so I'm feeling my back, but I'm feeling it working. Like it's the muscles all around the low back. I'm also feeling my glutes and my shoulders, kind of everything. But even though our low back is working and bending the most, we're trying to not hairpin here, but open up the thoracic spine. So that's the mid back we want to bend. And the way you do that is think of a string attached to your sternum or your heart. And think of it lifting up at the top. So up, 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 up. Almost done. Last one. Once you're back into downward facing dog, gently lower through hands and knees and take a child's pose. The things that are working the most, actually pretty much everything's working the most, but shoulders and wrists. So if you're like, that's normal. It's really good, that last exercise, for bone density. So good. Again, why yoga is different than a lot of forms of exercise, because we're trying to prevent osteoporosis, especially bone density, throughout all those little bones in the wrists and the forearms. So taking a few moments here to allow the wrists and shoulders and low back and everything to relax. And then come on up to seated and lay all the way onto your backs for some yogi sit-ups, remembering your different modifications. Here we go. Once you're back, hug the knees in, fingertips behind the head, and we'll begin. Extend the right leg, right elbow to left knee. Maybe it touches, maybe it doesn't. We inhale back to center. We exhale other side. We inhale back to center. So it's nice and slow at the pace of your breathing. And some things to know. Even though the belly is already working really hard, still pull the pelvic floor up and scoop the belly in. Keep going. And finishing up your round. And relax. Let your belly completely soften and relax for a moment. I like to even put my hands on my belly to make sure it's relaxing. Sometimes, oddly enough, it doesn't want to. It's like, ooh, and tenses up. Let it relax. It's done its work already. Not for too long. Then we will do a couple little rocks and rolls all the way up, almost to seated, and back. Almost all the way up to seated, and back. And then all the way up, and either just wait, or for extra challenge, we'll Vinyasa, heading back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhale for a nice stretch after those abs have been working, and downward facing dog. Few deep breaths here, or you could hang out in child's pose. And slowly lower through hands and knees, or we'll all meet in hands and knees. The next one is kind of fun. It's a little bit of a spin on one that we've done quite a bit in the past. Dolphin pose, which a lot of us have a love-hate relationship with that one. It is one of the best exercises in all of yoga. It really challenges the human body to stand up tall. The muscles that we work in this one are just insane. I could go on and on about the benefits, but instead we're going to do it, and just trust me. Famous last words, hey? No, but seriously, I promise you this is really good for us. So what we'll do is I'll set our timer. It's a 2-minute timer. Take rest anytime you need. Either just hold dolphin, or for extra challenge, little pulses like we've done in the past, or for extra challenge, I'll show you what we're going to do. It's one-legged dolphin, okay? So I'm going to flip our timer though. I can explain it as we go if you want to just join in, or if you're like, no, I'm good with less than 2 minutes, you can watch for the first little bit. So you might want to put a block between the hands if you've got one or want one. And then up and back to your dolphin. Let's go forward a little bit. 3-legged dolphin. What we do is we extend the right leg up and hold, hold, hold. 4, 5. Release, other side, okay? And we hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And you just alternate like that for 2 minutes. Taking rest when you need. And keep going. At your own pace, you do not have to go at the same pace as me. Just about 5 counts. And what it does is, in addition to working all of our upper back and mid back, we get to work the glutes as well. So that's fun. Breathing deep. We're in the home stretch now. And release into child's pose. Slow, slow, slow. Holy smokes, hey, isn't that like just extra fun? Couple deep breaths after that one. And now either just wait, so a little bit longer in your child's pose, or if you're looking for extra challenge, heading back through plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. From here, we'll all meet in downward facing dog, and then heading into a standing pose. Right foot steps forward behind the right wrist, but not like a super long stance, okay? So back heel spins down to the ground and coming up to like a baby warrior one. Okay, baby warrior one. From here, standing. This is too long of a stance. What we're looking for is pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. So I'm going to modify. It's actually not a very long stance at all, and width-wise, it's quite wide. Eventually, it's heel to heel, but that's only when you have a lot of hip mobility. I've got a decent amount of hip mobility, and I still like a nice wide stance just because. From here, it's a modified, so we don't need to do the hands in their full upright position, but instead have the hands to the hips, inhale to lengthen. On the exhale, forward fold, but the entire time you're forward folding, try to have equal weight on each foot and draw that right hip back, 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 back. Releasing the hands to a block, the floor, your shin, whatever you can find. And we're holding. This is like a yin style stretch where we're holding, feeling a stretch in the back side of that front leg and breathing deep. And inhale to lengthen. Exhale, hold here. Hands to the hips, and then an inhale, come on all the way up. If you feel lightheaded at the top, one palm to the forehead. And either return to or head into Tadasana Mountain Pose and just wait for the other side, or back into your baby warrior one. And we'll take a Vinyasa if you're looking for extra challenge. Down through lunge, stepping it back to plank, and lowering chaturanga. Inhaling it, and exhale, downward facing dog. Preparing for the other side, we'll take that baby step forward with the left foot. Back heel spins down, come on all the way up to your baby warrior one. We got to adjust anyways. So usually that stance is a bit too long. I like to do like a little, I don't know, weird dance because I have little cracks and things that happen. We've all got quirks, okay? This happens to be mine. Hiking up the pants a little bit, widening the stance, shortening it if need be. Hands to the hips, inhale, lifting up tall. On the exhale, forward fold, drawing that left hip back, 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 back. As we forward fold, equal weight on each foot. What can sometimes happen is we shift that weight too far back, so our hips are askew. I don't know if you can see. So there my hips are level. Here they're not level, even though you kind of look and go, well, it looks like you're doing it right, but for some reason your hips are lopsided. So shifting weight, we often feel that the weight needs to be back, but it's really equally distributed between the 2 feet. And breathing deep. The spine is long the whole time, so whether your hands are on the floor or your shin or even like a couch or something in front of you, we want the spine long. There is a tendency to banana the spine a little bit if we're not as flexible. Even if you are flexible, there's always that tendency to banana the spine. So kind of what we're thinking about is if you know where your kidneys are, it's like your right kidney is trying to move towards the inseam of your left leg. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. Just lengthen through the spine and try to keep everything square. But it's like the right side of your back is moving towards the inseam of your front leg, because otherwise we kind of banana. Breathing deep. And then inhale, we lengthen. On the exhale, hands to the hips. On the next inhale, come on all the way up. And baby warrior one. Heading down through lunge, either head back to a child's pose or a downward dog, or for extra challenge vinyasa, back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale, downward facing dog. From here, belly scoops in. Gliding forward to plank, pick your right foot up and draw your right knee towards your nose. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Head back to downward facing dog. Other side, left knee to nose. Gliding forward for 1, 2. Lift that foot up. 3. Belly scoops in for 4. And 5. Heading back to downward facing dog, or take a child's pose for the next round. Right knee to nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Heading back to downward dog. Other side, left knee to nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Head back to downward facing dog, and we'll all find a child's pose. Few deep breaths. But not for too long. There's more fun to be had. Our last strength thing for the day, and it's the funnest. So what we do is we lay all the way back, and it's for the core. Extend the legs up high to the sky. Cross one ankle in front of the other, maybe right in front of left. Arms along your sides for like landing gear. Belly scoops in as you lower the legs down until they're hovering above earth. Bring them back up. Crisscross other side. And keep going. Legs go down. Legs go up. The slower you go, the harder it is. And crisscross. Keep going. Basically, if you need rest, hug the knees in. That's the easiest spot to take rest. And keep going. If you're like, this is way too hard, then that's normal. You can bend the knees a lot and lower them down. You're still using your core. I feel that quite a bit actually. Just bend them a lot and crisscross. Okay, and that's your modification. It's a modification, but it still works the core quite a little bit. So the straighter the legs are, the harder it is. And the more you need to focus on bringing the belly down towards the spine, okay? Things could be shaking. And as always, shaking is weakness leaving the body, so it's a good thing. Totally fine. As long as the integrity of the exercise still remains intact. And release. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Rock and roll, almost all the way up and back. Almost all the way up and back. All the way up. Either just like wait for a stack, or if you're extra challenge wanting, those words weren't in the right order, head back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhale, stretch the belly. Oh, that feels nice. And exhale, downward facing dog. Preparing for low lunge pose. Right foot steps forward, back knee lowers down to your mat. And then, see, we're into the super nice part of this class. All your hard stuff is done. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, lowering down onto your elbows if that's available, or just stay here. We're trying to go as low as is available. Breathing deep. And nice and slow, either head back to child's pose or downward dog, or for extra challenge, little vinyasa, back through plank, lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Another side, left foot steps forward, back knee lowers down, Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, lowering down. You know how when you're in like a pose and you're supposed to not think any thoughts? And then it never works out when you think thoughts anyways. Do you want to know what I'm thinking about right now? I'm thinking about my daughter asked me this morning. She said, what does calamity mean? And I was like, well, I have a question. Why are you asking what calamity means? Anyways, so from there, it must have been a video game. Maybe she's been playing Zelda. Maybe that's a thing in Zelda. So the only calamity the time I've heard that used is Calamity Jane, which I never really watched Deadwood, like a little bit, but so then I went on this like road down Wikipedia trying to figure out, okay, who's Calamity Jane? Where did she come from? Where did she go? Yeah, anyways, that's what I'm thinking about right now. And I never really did get to the end of like how is she famous? Like what was she known for? I never got really there yet. But I know that I've heard about her. And anyways, we're ready to move on. So heading to child's pose or downward dog, or for extra challenge, back to plank and lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up and exhale, downward facing dog. From here, heading into, let's do gecko. So right foot steps forward, back knee lowers down, and tucking those toes, and then finding the opposite toes. Oh goodness. Needing a stretch today, for sure. Anyways, should I learn more about Calamity Jane? Like, is she an important figure in history? Should I do more research? Is this, because, I don't know, since, like, being a woman, it's kind of like important historical figures in history, especially women, are sometimes important. Yeah. But at the same time, there's so much to learn. Like, I wanted to learn chess, and I learned just enough to know that is a long road to get any, like, even to get mediocre at chess is like a long path. Slowly release. I don't know how I spent all these years without learning chess, but I managed to do it. Heading back through play. And now I can play a game and lose easily, actually. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale, downward facing dog. Other side. Left foot steps forward, back knee lowers down. Finding those toes. Oof. Sometimes it's on the second go. Speaking of Go, have you heard of the game Go? The game is just called Go. And it's a big thing in where is it a big thing? In Asia. Where specifically? I don't remember, but I'm fascinated by it as well. How can you tell that the last several months I've been learning about all the things I don't know and then trying to like triage, like what do I absolutely need to learn immediately? And then what should I never learn ever because it's not important or relevant? But if anyone knows how to play the game Go, I don't know how to play it. I've just seen people play it on TV. Let me know. And release. You know the drill. Child's pose, downward dog, or back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale. Downward facing dog. From here, we lower through hands and knees, and we're going to do a super fun pose called Samakonasana. It's a wide-legged stretch, but it's different. So instead of sitting on the floor and bringing the feet as far apart as they'll go, we start in a standing position with the feet far apart. And then you heel toe out as far as you can go. And if you have a B mat, you'll need something slippery, maybe. Ugh. I have no blanket for my elbows. How did that happen? But yeah, chess. That's a game that I really think, even my husband said, I don't think you should try and learn it because it's not your thing. Which you might think that just means my intelligence is lacking to even be good at it, but that's not what he means. He means like my style. In any kind of strategy game, like there's this game called Civilization on the computer. And you have to you start out as nothing. Like you are like a little tiny tribe and you run around and it's basically barbarians. You run into a horde of barbarians kind of thing. And eventually you make a village. You make, farming, you make roads, and you start right from scratch building a civilization. But you wind up getting at war with other people, whether you want to or not. And so my strategy is like, okay, I lost that one because I didn't have any elephants. They had elephants. Okay, everybody makes elephants. That's all we're doing. We're not creating agriculture. We're like making elephants. And so the next time I go to war, I'm thinking, I've got lots of elephants now. I'm going to win this one. But then they have cannons. Like, what? Okay, everybody makes cannons. And that's not really how you strategize. Come on out. And back to child's pose, or downward dog, or back to plank, lowering chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Last downward dog. And gently release. Heading all the way onto our backs. And we'll head into twisted roots. But not for very long, just a mild little twist. If you prefer one-legged, feel free. Otherwise, right crosses all the way over left. And hips go to the right as the knees go to the left. Not for very long, just a few deep breaths. Scooping the belly in, press the low back into the floor. Unraveling, unwinding. Another side, left crossing over right. Hips go to the left as the legs go to the right. Scoop the belly in. Press the low back into the floor. Once you're all squared up, hug both knees in. Our last Apanasana before Shavasana. So to release the back, hug the knees in just a little bit more so you can kind of squeeze the knees. You can feel the back releasing as you do this. And release into Shavasana. Final resting pose. As always, if your back needs a little bit of extra support today, feel free to keep those knees bent with the feet on the floor. Otherwise, extending the legs, arms along your sides, palms facing up, and closing the eyes. Softening everything, but especially through the neck and the shoulders, and all the way down the arms. Letting the fingers softly curl. Softening through the face. Softening around the eyes. And even the muscle between the eyes. Just letting it all go. And starting to come back. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. And gently roll your head from side to side. And reaching your arms above head on the floor. Give yourself a big stretch, feeling totally refreshed. And bending your knees in one at a time. Gently roll over to the right side. And just pause there for a moment as you come back. And slowly start to press yourself all the way up to a cross-legged seated position. And when you arrive, palms facing up on the knees, inhale, sitting up tall. And exhale, softly close the eyes, taking those final moments to remember your intention, letting that resonate, knowing you're one step closer, and taking another moment of thought for someone else who might need it today. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you next time. Have a really good rest of your day.